Hi, welcome to Global One Media. Today I'm joined by Aneel Waraich, the Executive Vice President and Director of Steppe Gold, which is Mongolia's premier precious metals company and Asia's newest gold producer. So hi, Aneel. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi there, and thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
So to start off, could you please give us a brief overview of yourself, of Steppe Gold, and tell us how it all started?
Absolutely. So myself, background, I'm more finance, capital markets background. I've worked for the Dundee Group of companies in Toronto for about 5.5 years, both on the buy side, covering private investments in mining and oil and gas, and then as an investment banker at Dundee Capital Markets, covering diversified industries, including resources. So I've really cut my chops at the Dundee Group of companies under Ned Goodman and his team, where I also did my MBA through his program as well. So I learned a lot about resources and kind of got the passion for resources back then. In 2016, I was advising Matt Wood, who's our executive chairman, who's a geologist by trade and my partner now, on another transaction. And he mentioned he was going back into Mongolia to build the premier precious metals company that we're building today. So I got the opportunity to co-found Steppe Gold back in 2016 with Bata Tumor Osher, who's our CEO in Mongolia, based out of Mongolia, and Matt Wood. And both of them have had a track record of success in Mongolia specifically. Matt has had multiple exits around the world, but in Mongolia, they built a company in 2010. It was a $20 million IPO and sold it for $500 million cash in 2011. So certainly it's a great team to pair up with to build a new venture in a jurisdiction that we have a good handle on.
Excellent. So what sets Steppe Gold apart from other junior precious metals producers?
Sure. So we started the company, obviously it was a very tough environment for the junior space. In 2018, when we listed the company, we were the only main board mining IPO on the TSX. So in a very tough environment, we raised money for, I would say, what was perceived to be a very tough jurisdiction, being Mongolia. And we proved to the market that we can build, you can produce commercially and obviously profitably with the government support and doing it properly. So for us, we consider ourselves a Mongolian company listed on the TSX. Right. Our CEO is Mongolian, half our board are Mongolian, and most importantly, 99% of our team are Mongolian. So what sets us apart is during this pandemic, in April 2020, when we wanted to bring production online for the first time ever, we brought it online without any expats because you couldn't get in the country if you tried. So if we relied on expats to run our business, we wouldn't have been in business, or we wouldn't be in business today. So to be able to have that local team and do things properly, we're getting rewarded in many ways, not just from cash flow, but from government support and the 250 jobs. So I think that's a big point of what sets us apart is setting up the company properly from the get-go and being as local as possible, as you should be in any jurisdiction, whether it's Northern Ontario to Quebec to BC or Chile, Peru, or Mongolia. So that's certainly it. And then the last piece I'd mention is, which is very important, is the alignment we have with our investors. Our management team and board own 20% of the company today. We have never sold a share. We continue to buy on market when we can. And so we're highly aligned with our investors. And I think that's very important in this business, any business.
Very interesting. So also, I know you experienced serious supply chain issues recently that impacted your production for months. So with the current market volatility and crisis in various parts of the world, do you see further impacts on your operations, or how are you readjusting from all that?
Sure, absolutely. So yeah, like I mentioned before, we brought production online in a very tough time with COVID, with borders closed, with no flights coming into the country. During that process, about 9 months after we produced for 9 months successfully in 2020, we were seeing those supply chain constraints and issues that everyone else in the world is now encountering or has encountered after us. So maybe we're the leading indicator of what was happening in the world. So it certainly did impact us in terms of getting the key reagents to bring continued production online. But what we did proactively was build up our storage on site so that when it does open up, we can build up an inventory 6 months ahead of us for the key reagents. Second, we built up an inventory of unprocessed ore that was about 18 months runway. So we can, if we never mined or blasted as of today, we can still produce 80,000 ounces at about $1,000 margin. So it's a lot of cash flow that comes into the company without actually relying on certain things. So that was key in proactively dealing with that. And then what's happened is we've obviously opened up multiple sources of supply. We've now been producing since March of this year successfully, 1,500 ounces in March to 3,300 in April, 3,800 in May, just over 3,300 again, I think, or close to in June. We'll probably publish, and you're going to see a bigger quarter next quarter, about 15,000 ounces or next quarter. So we're back on track, building up that inventory, and have now built up multiple supply channels for those issues that we encountered last year. So the most important point, I think, is going back to the equity alignment with investors. We didn't raise any equity when we weren't in production, and we did everything we could to not raise equity at dilutive levels, and we've gotten through. Now we're back generating cash flow.
Excellent. So as a last question, can you tell us more about Steppe Gold's aggressive phase 2 expansion plans and what investors should be watching out for in the coming months?
Absolutely. So one is, yes, we are a producer. We're generating cash flow from our heap leach operation, which is from surface down to about 40 meters. That will generate cash flow for the next 2 to 3 years and fund the growth of our company as it has already. So it's a nice way to de-risk and generate your own cash flow and contribute your own equity to your expansion. So that's important. Our phase 2 expansion is today about 1.6 million ounces of reserves on a gold equivalent basis. So when we started this project company, we only had 210,000 ounces reserves. Now we have 1.6. That backs up another 10 and a half years of mine life at double our current production profile, which should come online in less than 2 years from now. So while continuing generating cash flow, we'll expand in our phase 2, construct it, bring it online, and generate obviously a significant amount of cash flow. That's probably more than our market cap today. And so over the next few months, you're going to see a lot of news flow and continued production, cash flow. You're going to see optimization of that feasibility study for that phase 2 expansion that we put out last year. In fact, we actually received 60 million US of debt from within Mongolia, sponsored by the Bank of Mongolia for that phase 2 expansion. So you're going to see an expanded debt package to be fully funded by the end of the year for that phase 2 expansion. Additional updates on optimization of that phase 2. We think that 10 and a half years of phase 2 will grow significantly in terms of mine life and potentially in production profile as well above 100,000 ounces. So a lot to look for in terms of production, expansion, and most importantly, I think, is exploration that we haven't had a chance to really use cash flow, excess cash flow, because we didn't have it in the last couple of years. And now we can use that to expand further the ATO deposit. That's today about 2.5 million ounces on resources or 1.6 on reserves, but only down to 400 meters across 4 deposits. So a lot of room to grow. Then our second license, we're going to start drilling this week. Is down in another jurisdiction that's a new gold district, and we've had our partners, Erdene Resources, who are our peers in country, drill about over 1 million ounces on their joining licenses, and we're smack in the middle. So lots of news flow from exploration, production, cash flow, and expansion.
Very nice. Thank you, Aneel, for all the information. We're looking forward to seeing the next news and developments from Steppe Gold. So thanks a lot for your time today.
Thank you very much.